Welcome back to the Road to 237. This is episode 25. This week kicks off the official training block for the Columbus Marathon, and the key workout, the highlight of the week, if you will, is a 20-mile progression run and some half marathon tempo-ish miles in between. So let's take a look at how the week went. The marathon block officially kicked off this morning, and I did 7 easy miles, kind of recovery from the weekend, and then I've got a nice tempo session with some hills planned for tomorrow, so I wanted to keep it all easy, and it was raining, so I got very wet, which was kind of fun to mix things up, and had moments of thinking like, maybe I'll go later in the day, or redistribute the miles throughout the week so I'm not getting wet. But at the end of the day, you don't know what marathon day is going to bring, so better to get some runs in any other weather. So the change I did do, though, I always keep a pair of old running shoes around just in case, because this can be hard on running shoes. And so I threw on some older running shoes that technically have hit their mileage mark, but they got one final run in, and it was kind of fun to run in them. They're my Pumas that were took a chance on buying them, super steep on discount, and man, I loved them. So fun little run this morning. First workout of the marathon training block is complete. It was a 4-mile at half marathon pace effort. 4-mile warm up, 4-mile cool down to get 12 in for total. I chose to go do this down in a hilly part of the area where the Grandview Yard half marathon actually is going to take place. So got some practice on those hills because I'll be seeing them in about a month, and there's some big hills. I did 1 or 2 of them, again, just to kind of get some exposure out there, get some hills on the tempo miles, and yeah, all in all, felt pretty good. Wouldn't have wanted to carry that pace much longer. Part of that might be the heat and humidity, but also just getting back into the swing of marathon block training. So all in all, good day, and try to get some weights in later tonight. Long run we'll move to Friday this week due to some weekend scheduling stuff, kid camp, that we'll talk about more throughout the week. 10 miles this morning down by the river, kind of getting some recovery from the tempo session yesterday. But down by the river's always got some good hills that I'm trying to work in a little bit more this training block, so that's all good. It's really humid this morning, and I did the sauna last night, and this was the first run I think all summer that I have been really wishing I had taken water with me. I did not take anything, and man, I am thirsty, so I'm gonna go get a drink. Easy 7-mile run today down on the trail with my friend and coach. Good to catch up, hadn't seen him in person for a while, so yeah, all easy miles. And tomorrow I've moved things around a little bit, just based on picking up my daughter from camp over the weekend, and then being able to get a bike ride in for Pelotonia, and then my wife's long run as well, and so doing my long run tomorrow. So 20 miles tomorrow with some progressively faster miles. Should be fun. I haven't looked at the weather to see how humid it's going to be, but that'll be the wild card on it. All right, 20-mile progression run. Started out at just long run easy pace and wanted to take every couple miles a little bit faster, working down into the 6-ish range. If there was anything left in the tank, get a little under 6 minutes per mile. Did not go well. Around mile 13, started getting some side cramps, largely ran through those, and then got to, from there into some stomach discomfort. Again, relatively quick though, got through that, and then my legs started cramping up, to the point that on my cool down I actually walked a bit because they were starting to lock all the way from the calf up into the hamstring. So I guess the good news is I'm seeing this in training now, so something I can look at a little bit closer and try to figure out what's going on. In the past, that's only happened in races themselves, so got to get that one figured out. I'm thinking it's something to do with hydration. I did do a great job of hydrating last night and into the morning, so that might be the first thing we check out here. But it felt really good until it didn't. Also had a chance this morning to test out my pre-race breakfast and a little bit of fueling strategy during the run too. So I think during the run everything went pretty well. I like what I'm doing there. I'm shooting for, this was around 60 grams of carb an hour. I'll work that up as we get closer to the race. And for breakfast, having a bit more than I typically have, and everything sat pretty well. I don't think my stomach trouble was anything from breakfast or anything. I just wasn't able to go this morning like I typically do. but I did learn that the Martin drink mix I tried, not something that works really well for me. It was really hard to get down, and I had tried to do 3 tablespoons of honey with my bagel, and that's a lot of honey. I couldn't do it. So that's why you practice these things. I know what to test out and switch around. And yeah, I'll have another shot at it. I think next weekend is a 22 miler, and so another chance to practice. Easy 10 miler this morning after yesterday's 20. I honestly was expecting this one to feel kind of rough based on how much I was cramping and, you know, residual soreness from the legs or something, but actually felt really good. Really good. So that's exciting. Yeah, just kept it all easy. Went down to one of my favorite trails, routes, I guess, down by the river. So it wasn't as humid today, I don't think. So that probably helped a bit, but now I'm off to Cincinnati to pick up my daughter from camp. Closed out the week with a 20-ish mile bike ride, getting ready for Pelotonia. I would say we are pretty much ready. That's in a couple weeks here, so nice little cross training as we get ready for the Columbus Marathon this fall. So all in all, a pretty good week of running. That 20-mile progression run did not go as planned, but I'd rather have that now than later in the training block where I don't have time to test different things and figure out what is or isn't going to work for breakfast and in-race nutrition. Also plenty of time now to look at some different electrolytes and or compression socks, things of that nature that might help with the cramping issue. So really glad it happened when it did, lots to learn from, and excited to share what I'm testing and learning as we go. Also early on in the training block to have a long run like that, but for me, I find that I respond really well to the long run. And so I think having that early on, being able to push it a little bit like I did in that progression run is something that I feel strongly about. I think, you know, for any individual, you got to balance risk of injury and or burnout, but for me personally, I found that the long run works well. So getting something like that at some higher intensity early on is going to pay dividends for me as we get closer to the marathon. I've also got some half marathons along the way that I wanted to balance when I start to taper in a sense for some of those races, but still get plenty of long run miles in before the marathon this fall. Hence the longer run earlier in the training block than what you might see otherwise. Pelotonia is also kind of the other, you know, wild card that I have in there where I won't be doing a long run the weekend of Pelotonia just because trying to get miles in on top of a 50-mile bike ride for me, just scheduling doesn't make sense. Even though we're not racing or pushing hard on the bike, that's still a lot of time in the saddle, and I want to make sure that I'm recovered from that since it's not something that I do every day. So as you saw this week, I think kind of follows the philosophy that I shared earlier on what I'm trying to do here, where at this point in the training cycle, you know, just focused on getting some mileage at somewhere between 10K, half marathon, marathon pace is the bulk of the focus, and really getting plenty of mileage in at those paces because that's ultimately what I'm going to need to be running at here in the end of October, or middle of October, I guess, is when Columbus is. So you'll see that continue over the training block, emphasis on those half marathon to marathon pace miles. Every now and then I'll throw some faster stuff in just to kind of keep priming those systems and mix up the training and keep it fun. Next week in particular, I know there's a faster track session in there. We'll call it the farewell to the summer of speed. But really excited to have you along with the journey. If you have questions, thoughts, comments, please drop them in the comment section here. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much.